It's Austin St. John, Jason, the original Red Ranger. You are watching the Morphin Network.
Oh, that's very fascinating. Oh, hi! I didn't see you there. I'm Quasar Red from Morphin Network. Welcome to a new video series we like to call QR's Fan Theories. Here we will be discussing the potential behind-the-scenes stories of Power Rangers. Fan theories, as you will. Power Rangers Time Force, one of the most iconic seasons ever. Which is pretty understandable. It has an adult edge that not many other seasons have. It has a great team of Rangers and villains, and one of the deepest storylines ever. It's basically a soap opera for kids. The show, which is originally set in the year 3000, is about 4 police officers from a branch called Time Force that chased a band of mutant criminals through time. The two groups find themselves in modern-day 2001, where the season mostly takes place. Something Time Force always talked about was that their presence in the modern day was drastically altering the future, meaning the year 3000 they'll return to may not be the same one that they had left. It probably didn't help matters when they let a modern-day man join their battle against the mutants. The man, Wesley, or Wes as he likes to go by, is a rich, pretty boy who was originally destined to inherit his father's company, Biolab. His life was set to play out a certain way, and here comes 4 cops from the future, and his timeline was majorly changed. Because of this, he became known as history's definitive Time Force Red Ranger, as we currently know about. Enter Power Rangers SPD, another season with an adult edge that's quite different from the other series. What's unique about this show was that it's set in the year 2025, where aliens and humans live alongside each other in peace. Ironically, this season has a lot in common with Time Force. Both series are based in the future, both have the same color scheme, and both are police-themed. One of the show's main protagonists was Sky Tate. He was a hard-headed by-the-books type. We learned that he was like this partly because he wants to follow in his footsteps of his father and become the Red Ranger as well. However, he lost this title to Jack Landers, and for the majority of the season, he dons the title as the SPD Blue Ranger. Something interesting about Sky's dad is when we see a picture of him, he is wearing, wait for it, drumroll, the red Time Force suit.
This man is overgasped!
This Morphin Network video is sponsored by Ranger Stop Convention and Ranger Stop and Pop. Have you ever wanted to see all your favorite Power Rangers together in one epic convention? Go to Ranger Stop! Ranger Stop and Pop! August 27th to the 29th, 2021! Atlanta, Georgia! Ranger Stop 8! November 11th to the 14th! Orlando, Florida! Get your tickets now!
This has plagued Power Ranger fans for years. Is Sky's father Wes? SPD's head writer, Greg Aronowitz, has gone on record saying they mainly just used that suit out of sheer coincidence, and it wasn't anything originally planned. Or was it?
In the case of Skylar Tate, Wes Collins, you are the father! You are the father!
You see, at one point in that season, we learned that the Rangers' parents had worked at SPD long before they were born. They were said to be the pioneers of Space Patrol Delta's morphing tech. And just what year was this development taking place? That's right, 2001, the same year Time Force was taking place. A quick flashback to that year for a second. One of the few time anomalies we got to see in Time Force was that Biolab had funded a mutant fighting task force called the Silver Guardians. Not only that, but Eric Myers, one of their members and an old prep school rival of Wes's, had gotten his hands on some morphing tech that came from the future. Biolab had began experimenting with the tech and was planning on reproducing more morphers for each member of the Silver Guardians. Given that history was already altered anyway, and with the Earth under constant state of attack, it's not too far-fetched to assume that BL continued developing the morphing tech even after the mutant threat was over. This is inferred by the fact that Wes and Eric still had their morphers, and the Time Force Rangers had left behind some of their gear, even after they returned to the future. Not only that, but when Time Force had ended, Wes had also joined the Silver Guardians, meaning they had another Morpher to work with. You're probably wondering where I'm going with this. Basically, Wes still had his Morpher when he joined the Silver Guardians, which is a task force ran by Biolab, who is presumably in cohorts with Space Patrol Delta. And we learn that a member of SPD has a uniform that looks just like the Red Time Force Rangers. Basically, there is a connection there, or there could be a potential one for the show writers to eventually explore. Jason Font, the actor that plays Wes, said in his interview right here on Morphin Network.
So I don't know if you know this, Jason, but like in SPD, it was there's like rumors or like allegations that you were the SPD Blue Ranger's dad.
Yeah.
You get the same costume. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it would appear to me that I was. I don't think the producers really thought that was going to matter at that point. Didn't think anything of it. And then when it kind of backfired, they were just going like, they just didn't realize that it would have that kind of an impact. So yes, it is his father. And they just, I think at the time, wanted to knock it out and did not think there'd be any kind of a kickback.
However, we've never, or at least I haven't heard, what Chris Voigt's, aka Sky's, opinion on this matter is. What is funny, though, is that Mr. Aronowitz has said that he hates this question, so he seems open to making it possible too. Although this statement comes from an old interview, so maybe he's changed his mind by now. However, there are some other things that we need to consider when making this a possible connection. We learned in SPD that Sky's dad had apparently died when he was very young, or in other words, never saw him again. He went into a battle with an alien criminal named Miralok, and Sky said he never saw his father again. This is meant to assume that if he is Wes, then he's dead. But by 2018, we know that Wes is alive, as we saw him take part in both the legendary battle and Dimensions in Danger. However, we never truly learn when this flashback with Sky had taken place, and we don't know his true age, so that could be a factor into this equation. But there's another can of worms we can work with. The show seems to imply that Power Rangers can never truly die, as we saw in Lost Galaxy, RPM, and Beast Morphers. It seems to hint that their spiritual being is presumably sent into the grid, and it can only be retrieved if you know what you're looking for, like Dr. K did during RPM's final battle, or when their enemy has ultimately been defeated, like Kendricks and Steel. So judging from this evidence, since Miralok was never destroyed, that meant Wes couldn't return to the physical world, if he was killed. But there's another thing you can work with here. What's interesting to note is that when Wes appeared in Super Ninja Steel, we saw him as a mysterious cloaked figure. He was also partnered with Gemma, the RPM Silver Ranger, someone who had also died, but was then brought back to life. This is purely speculation, but it seems to hint that a Ranger, once they die or have perished, but then they come back to life, they are chosen to be guardians, or like overseers of the morphing grid or something. Morphing masters, if you will. Basically, there's lots of interesting ideas to explore by making Wes and Sky father and son. But there's also a lot of stuff that needs to be ironed out in order to tell the story properly. Hopefully there's a show writer out there who's interested in making this a possibility. Someone who understands what needs to be done. That is real. Tune in for our next story, Zeo Crystals, the most powerful thing in the universe, yet why do they get replaced by cars? I'm Quasar Red of Morphin Network, signing out.